My name is Kait Malone and welcome back to my channel. How are you guys doing? It's been a long time. As you've seen in my updates, I was trying to get an apartment when I came back to Toronto, and finally I have gotten one, and it's not set up yet. It's still very echoey in here, so please bear with me with the audio. I'm also trying to figure out what to do about the traffic on the street because I didn't realize it was as loud as it actually is on camera. So that's a bit of an issue, trying to talk in between the traffic, but then it takes like 10 times longer to film. But bear with me, I'm gonna try to figure out some stuff for that. This also isn't going to be the filming location. I honestly just pushed my dining room table into a corner right now so that there wasn't a big mess in the background because it's messy in here right now. Let me just say that. There's furniture boxes everywhere because I still haven't built my IKEA furniture. And it's just a little bit of a mess. If you're interested in seeing what my apartment looks like, I'll leave a link down below or a little card up top there. I did film a empty apartment tour for my main channel, so you can go see it over there. While you're over there, if you want to go hit that subscribe button, I would appreciate it a lot. But that is not what I am here to talk to you guys about today. I have spent the last few months where I have not been posting, and I know some of you have been a little upset about that. I had to get an apartment. So here we are. But I spent these last few months keeping up with and researching a bunch of cases like the one we are going to be talking about today that have really piqued my interest, that I've really wanted to tell you about. And let me tell you, it has been really hard not being able to film and not being able to tell you about these cases, because when I first started this channel, I was like putting out case after case and I was really excited about it, and then I wasn't able to for a while. And it was honestly frustrating on my part too, not being able to talk about these cases with you. So I am really excited to do this video today, even though today's case is definitely a case I wish I wasn't doing. I wish it wasn't reality, but it is, and I definitely think it's something that needs to be talked about. And before we get into this, I really just want to press that this case is absolutely sick. And I'm starting the case back up again by heading back to Florida. And as you have seen by the title of this video, this is the case of 13-year-old Tristyn Bailey and the 14-year-old boy who has been arrested for her murder. And I'm letting you know beforehand that this case is not a light one. It's actually very dark and disturbing, and if that's not what you're looking to watch today, I definitely recommend clicking out and going to watch a different video. Not that any true crime cases are really ever light, but yeah, this is your cue to click out. So as I said, this case takes place in Florida, specifically in St. Johns County, which is near Jacksonville. And it was Sunday, May 9th of this year that Tristyn was reported missing by her parents. And on top of that, it was Mother's Day, which I can't even imagine waking up to find your child's missing on Mother's Day. The Baileys had told police that they woke up on Mother's Day to find that Bailey wasn't in her bed and she was nowhere to be found. And they had told police that they hadn't seen her since midnight. They hadn't seen her since that night. They all slept through the night, woke up in the morning, and she was just nowhere to be found. This kicked off a huge search, including law enforcement and the neighboring communities. Everyone was looking for Tristyn Bailey. I actually even remember when this story broke because my boyfriend has sent me a link. He also lives in Florida, and he thought I might be interested in this news story of a missing teenage cheerleader, but never did anyone imagine that it would turn out the way that it did. It was around 5 p.m. that Sunday when a missing child report was sent out, and it would only be about an hour later that it would be called off because the body of Tristyn was found not very far from her home. And she was specifically found in a wooded area near a retention pond that was at the end of a cul-de-sac on Saddlestone Drive. And this was a street in the Durbin Crossing area where the Bailey family lived. And this neighborhood in specific was like a nicer upper middle class neighborhood. There were some decently expensive homes in this area. It's like people say in small towns, like nothing ever happens here. It's like really safe and quiet, and they never expect something so horrific to go down. But unfortunately it did, which is why we are talking about this case today. So basically the worst thing that this community ever thought could happen happened when Tristyn's body was found. But things would honestly get even worse as the hours passed and more information came out. But before I get into the darker details and we talk a little bit more about the 14-year-old boy who was arrested for Tristyn's murder, I think we need to take a moment to talk about who Tristyn was. So after Tristyn's body was found, the Bailey family came together honestly stronger than I've ever seen any family come together from something so tragic. Honestly, stronger than I could ever imagine myself being in that position. They ended up coming together to throw a celebration of life for Tristyn. I'm honestly just gonna play you a few clips from this service. I think the best way you can understand who Tristyn was hearing it directly from her family's mouths, and I think it means more to hear it from them than to hear it from me. So I'm gonna link the entire video down below so you can actually watch the whole thing if you'd like, but I'm gonna play you a clip of Tristyn's sister talking about her because I think this sister in specific really painted this really good visual of who Tristyn was, so much so that I could even picture Tristyn as if she was my own sister. So I'm gonna play it now for you.
As for our superstar, 1 in a trillion queen, no good deed goes unseen. especially for Tristan. She made sure all of her good deeds were well seen and well heard. For example, taking the dog out to a walk to the backyard. Doing a dish, just one. Or her favorite, changing a wet diaper, because we all know that child would not touch a dirty one. Tristan always made her presence well known. That's why she shined so bright and cheer, and rounded up some of the best of friends a girl could hope for, some of which were closer to our parents' age than her own. Tristan had a laugh that was absolutely contagious, and the most beautiful smile I've ever seen. She knew how to light up a room, usually with her fresh new TikTok moves or her rap-influenced lyrics that were probably inappropriate. When I found out I was pregnant, I remember feeling scared to share the news with my family, but never was I fearful of being a mom. I have Tristan to thank for that. My mom, having our Singaporean sibling when I was 16 years old, guided me into motherhood seamlessly. I was there for Tristan's birth, as well as the birth of the placenta that my dad did not prepare me for. I was there to help her crawl, watch her take her first steps, hear this awful high-pitched squeal that was so unnecessary. But again, even at 2, she didn't go unseen. Sing a handwritten song that went something along the lines of "Stormy, come home tonight" on her pink ukulele. Braid her unicorn hair and always surprise her with a new outfit when I would go out shopping for myself. My absolute favorite, though, was when I would ask out loud to anybody, "Do you want to?" And before I had even finished my sentence, the girl already had her shoes on, walking out the door, asking if we could stop at Starbucks on the way. She could care less where she was going as long as she had her double chocolate chip frappuccino, or her newest favorite, which was shocking to me, was an iced caramel coffee that came out black and she drank it. Shocked. Tristan was my little Minnie. She was our family's baby, our idol, the one we deep down wish we could be like. Our similarities created some of the strongest memories and tightest bonds, but also some of the most catastrophic fights. I mean, we're talking about the two of us going at it with each other over the exact same thing, and usually it was a terrible attitude towards one another. But that was just it. We were so similar, we got over things the same way. We could always just start over, like our mom. The love was always evident and trumped all. Tristan was one of the most confident, well-rounded, beautiful, smart, and kind-hearted humans I know. She could care less what the world thought of her. She loved herself some Tristan. Life will be difficult in this new world we have been shoved into. Aqua Blue will always speak to us just as much as Gucci belts and Starbucks will remind us. Remember what a wonderful, beautiful, smart, charismatic, confident girl that she was. And my advice is counteract any negativity with a positive, uplifting story about our girl, because she always would defend the underdog, regardless if she was friends with them or not. Tristan, I love you more than words can express. And as for our favorite movie that we watch on the daily, I can't wait for the day when I get to see you again. Till then, we will be down here cheering you on while you're above freaking out over the millions of admirers you have gained. My girl, you have gone viral. And we cannot wait to do big things in honor of your name. You deserve it, and so much more. Forever and always, Tree.
So as you can see, they are way more positive about all of this than, again, I could ever be, especially considering what will eventually come out about what happened to Tristan. So let's get into that a bit. So after Tristan's body was discovered, police did not waste any time in trying to figure out who could do this to such a bright, cheerful 13-year-old girl. They went door to door, combing the area, trying to figure out if anyone had any tips, and they also collected surveillance footage from anyone that had it. And this surveillance footage would be the smoking gun that kicked off the case. At 1:14 p.m., Tristyn Bailey was seen on this footage alone, and she was seen around the Durban Amenity Center in her community. There are still a lot of things that are being withheld at the moment, which I'm hoping are going to end up coming out in trial. So we don't know if she was just hanging out by this amenities center or if she was walking by it, but as far as I would assume, the amenities center wouldn't be open at 1 a.m. because from what I even know about my boyfriend's amenities center, it closes at like around 10 p.m. So I ended up looking up the hours for the amenities center after I finished the video. Tristan was caught on film at 1:14 a.m. at this amenities center, technically Sunday morning. And I'm confused because it says Saturday it's open 24 hours, but then Sunday it says it opens at 8 a.m. So I'm not quite sure how accurate these hours are. But I'm going to go with that the amenity center was not open at 1 a.m. I don't know why it would be open at 1 a.m. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know down below if I am. But find it a little strange. I don't think it was open. So we're gonna skip ahead a bit now. At 1:45 a.m., surveillance captured from a home on Saddlestone Drive captures Tristan walking with another person who is wearing shorts, a hoodie, and black and white Nikes. Tristan is wearing a black shirt and black pants. And her and this unknown person were walking towards the wooded area where her mutilated body would be found. Around 2 hours later, around 3:27 a.m., only one figure emerges from that wooden area walking back down Saddlestone Drive, and this person is carrying their shoes. And this footage led police to the home of 14-year-old Aiden Fucci, who lived about 0.3 miles from that wooded area in the same area that Tristan lived in. And also, he went to school with Tristan. Aiden was an 8th grade student at Patriot Oaks Academy in St. Augustine, and that is the same school that Tristan went to, but she was in 7th grade there. Fellow students corroborated that they were friends and that they knew each other. Initially, police asked for Aiden to be brought in for questioning, and Aiden willingly agreed to go to the police station. But while he was waiting in the backseat of the police car, the infamous Snapchat photo was taken and sent out. And if you know anything about this case, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is a Snapchat that has made so many people sick, including myself. It is just so disturbing to think that a 14-year-old boy decided to take the Snapchat and send it out, allegedly after murdering the very person he's talking about in this post. And it makes you wonder, does he really have any sympathy for any of this? So the Snapchat. So let me just actually show you the Snapchat and explain it a little bit. So Aiden took a photo of himself in the backseat of the police car and he captioned it, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?" And he sent this out to his friends, who thankfully took screenshots of it. Just really think about that. So he's putting out this like snarky Snapchat being like, "Oh, hey, has anyone seen Tristan?" Knowing exactly where she is. Allegedly. I don't know, guys. Because Aiden is 14, a lot of his initial interview has been withheld. A lot of it's been redacted. But as far as we know, he changed his story multiple times. At some point, he made an admittance of guilt because police ended up getting a search warrant to search his house. But it did, however, come out. It was said that Tristan and Aiden were at a mutual friend's home that night. And I guess Aiden said that at some point after they had left, they got into an argument where he pushed Tristan and she fell and hit her head. And even though I'm sure that is just one of the multiple stories that Aiden probably told police, it was the one that made it to the media. It's a tale as old as time. Kids sneaking out of the house to go hang out with their friends. And I've seen a lot of hate towards the family being like, "Oh, how didn't you know your daughter was gone?" So there's literally no blame to put on the parents that she snuck out of the house and they didn't know about it. So the question is, was that true? Personally, I don't believe it was true. I don't think it at all happened that they got into this little argument or little fight and then he pushed her to her head. It's not how it happened. It didn't happen like that. It just did not. Were they at a mutual friend's house? I could definitely see that. That would make sense why she snuck out of the house and she was walking. The very next day, on Monday, May 10th, a dive team descended into that retention pond trying to find any evidence of possibly a murder weapon. This is a retention pond that was behind this wooded area. I'll put like a picture on the screen so you can kind of get a visual of like what it looked like. Most of these little communities have these retention ponds in Florida. My boyfriend's has one. His even has a little forest behind it that kind of makes the like area a little more secluded and more private. And it's a good thing they decided to dive in this pond because a buck folding knife was found in there and it would be taken into evidence. Interestingly enough, the tip of this knife was broken off. That very same day, the sheriff made an update on this case to the public. Now, honestly, hats off to the sheriff. He was extremely blunt. He respected the family. He told the reporters off because they were trying to be vultures to get some headlines. And I was in agreement with all of the comments that were under the like posted videos of this this interview that he did. I've never seen an officer address the community so well.
Suspect in custody. That is the only suspect that has to do with the death of Tristyn.
13-year-old Tristan Bailey was last seen around midnight Saturday night. She was found dead less than 24 hours later. Police found the teen's body in a wooded area in this quiet Durbin Creek neighborhood, and it didn't take long to make an arrest. Sheriff Robert Hardwick announced the arrest of 14-year-old Aiden Fucci.
We can always increase the charge, but as we spoke of this case last night, based on the facts we have, that's given time for our investigative team to continue to build a better and better case.
Taking place not too far from where police say her body was found. Action News Jack's Sky Vision drone shows police investigating a pond.
So Aiden is initially arrested for second-degree murder and was eventually taken to the Volusia County Regional Detention Center for juveniles. This initial charge caused an uproar in the community and all over online because thousands and thousands of people were calling for him to be charged for first-degree murder. Police addressed this by basically telling the community to just kind of hold on and wait because everything was so fresh and new. It had literally been like a day or so since her body was found. They were still working the case. They were still trying to get evidence. I think at this point they were just trying to arrest him to kind of get him off the streets to start with, but people were like not having it, and rightfully so, I mean. And it was around this time that Aiden had his first appearance in Zoom court, and he was shown alongside with his mother and his father, who are not together, divorced, separated. They're something. They have not been together for a long time as far as I've seen. And it was in this first appearance that Aiden seemed extremely emotional, where you'll see in his next appearance he was just very like, he just didn't seem like he really cared. But it is in this first appearance that he seemed kind of emotional. It's kind of in a consensus that everyone feels like he just is upset that he got caught, not that he did anything, but that's obviously just everyone's opinion and it's not fact. So his mother was clearly emotional also in it, but his father seemed just kind of very cold about it. And this kind of led everyone to start looking into Aiden's parents, asking, who are they? How could their son do something like this? How could their son be convicted of doing something so heinous? And it quickly came out that Aiden's father, Jason Fucci, had been arrested in his past, and he had been found guilty of child abuse, injury, and neglect in 2004, and he had been sentenced to 1 year in prison. He'd also been arrested in 2003 for engaging in sexual activity with a 15-year-old in his home, but he only got 2 years of probation for that. And I agree with Stephanie Harlow when she said, our justice system is broken. Either way, he ended up violating his probation apparently, and he was put in jail for 14 months for that. In 2016, Jason got into a fight at a gas station while Aiden was present and was booked for battery. I've seen a lot of people try and defend Jason Fucci, and honestly, we weren't there. We can't know what exactly happened, but he got arrested and booked for all of those things. So, is he a terrible, horrible person? Probably not. But did he get arrested for all of these things and charged? Yes, he did. So he might not be the best person, especially when multiple of these things have to do with children, which is honestly disgusting. I don't care how old he was when he did it. And he's honestly lucky Chris Hansen didn't find him because he would have been on TV for it too. So let's jump back to Aiden. Soon after, in a search warrant, police found evidence in Aiden's home, including a pair of Nike shoes and a sweatshirt. Both would come back to have blood on them, and specifically it would be Tristan's blood. These items were also found in Aiden's bedroom. So things aren't looking very good for Aiden at this moment. On top of that, Aiden's DNA was also found on Tristan's body, but it's not come out what type of DNA it was, where it was found, which a lot of people are very interested in, including myself. I would like to know if it was touch DNA, if it was semen, if it was just under her fingernails from her trying to fight him off. So on top of all of that, after Aiden had been arrested, his mother spoke to him at the police station, where Aiden confessed to her that he was the one that was on those surveillance tapes and that he was carrying his shoes because his feet hurt. Why his feet hurt, possibly. We could speculate maybe they got wet from trying to throw his knife in the pond. What was also interestingly captured at the police station in one of these interrogation rooms was Crystal asking Aiden if there was anything on his clothes, where Aiden responds, I think so, why? And then Crystal whispers to Jason Fucci, blood. Like, it's 2021, people. Do you not know you're being recorded in these rooms? But thankfully they're ignorant to that, or else maybe this conversation wouldn't have happened. But because of this footage, along with footage from Crystal's home, because for some reason they had cameras throughout their home, on June 5th, Aiden's mother, Crystal, would be arrested for tampering with evidence after police got a hold of that surveillance footage from their home. And those videos included video of Crystal going into Aiden's room after he was taken in for questioning and removing a pair of jeans. She took these jeans and she was washing them in the sink, and then she basically took them to someone else in the home who I think also ratted her out in the end, and she was basically asking this person if she's seen any blood on them. So yeah, you could say that something runs in this family. The father's been arrested multiple times for crimes. The son is now arrested for a very serious crime. The mother's being arrested for crimes. But then that also brought up the question of, would you do this for your child? I've seen that been brought up time and time again. I want to say no. I'd want to say that I would definitely turn them in. But then again, there's a lot of people that are saying that they would do something like this to save their child. I want to say that I wouldn't, because in turn, I would put myself in the victim's parents' shoes, that I wouldn't want that to happen to my child, and then the person that did it not to be held accountable. I'm really curious what you guys would do in Crystal's position. So let me know down below in the comments what you would do. On Wednesday, May 12th, police revealed that they were receiving messages from what they were calling like trolls or troll accounts, claiming to be involved with Tristan's death, among other things, which are absolutely just, I don't understand people sometimes. There is this whole movement of hashtag free Aiden. If you watch 10 to Life on here, she's another true crime YouTuber. I was watching her live stream talking about this case. There were even people in her chat doing hashtag free Aiden. I don't understand. If I see a hashtag free Aiden in my comment section here, I'm gonna lose it. That generation is just, I can't. I'm not blaming everyone in that specific generation, but I don't get it. I really don't. It's fucking gross. Gross is an understatement. It actually makes you look really stupid, among other things. But despite all of these trolls, the police still believe that Aiden acted alone. I know there's been a lot of speculation and theories that possibly there were others involved, that they could have came from other like areas into the woods and been involved in this murder. I think it's a really interesting theory, but I feel like there would be some kind of footage of it. Maybe the police have it and they're not saying anything, but I feel like they would have arrested more people. And personally, I hope the police catch every single person that decides to claim false information of being involved in this murder. Because if you didn't know, it's a felony to report false information to the police. A girl is dead, and this isn't a joke. Fast forward to May 27th. This was a really big day because prosecutors ended up offering up a lot of new information on Tristan's murder. And they offered up way more information than anyone expected. This was also the day that they announced that Aiden would be tried as an adult for first-degree murder. Now this case honestly really reminds me of the Claire Miller case. Now obviously there are some differences, but there are a lot of similarities. Both of the accused are 14 years old. Now, I don't understand what's happening to 14-year-olds this year, but there have been 2 14-year-olds this year arrested for stabbing someone to death, which is just crazy to me. And they're both being charged with first-degree murder right now. The Claire Miller case was a huge case on my channel, and I'll have it linked down below if you guys are interested. And it is definitely something that really rocked and shocked the true crime community along with TikTok. It was one of the first cases that I think really went viral on TikTok that had to do with something this horrendous. And again, this is another case that is on the same level as the Claire Miller case. A 14-year-old stabbed someone else to death, but both cases are horrendous. And with the information that the prosecutors put out after they announced that he was going to be charged with first-degree murder, it made a lot more sense to why.
The examiner completed an autopsy on our victim and identified confidently that there were 114 stab wounds. 114. At least 49 of those stab wounds were to the hands, arms, and the head, and were defensive in nature.
You heard him correctly. It was announced that Tristyn didn't just hit her head, but she was stabbed 114 times. 49 of those stab wounds being defensive wounds. Wounds to her arms, hands, and head. Meaning, while this 13-year-old was being brutally and viciously attacked, she was holding up her arms like this, trying to defend herself while she was being stabbed. And do you know how exhausting it is, how much rage it takes to stab someone 114 times? I want you, this might sound a little crazy, to literally do this motion 114 times. And it's not easy to stab someone given you. That isn't something that just accidentally happens. That takes purpose, that takes motive, that takes a lot of rage. Now remember that buck knife. During Tristan's autopsy, it was announced that the tip of a knife was found lodged in her skull. And while Tristyn was found fully clothed, when law enforcement was asked about SA, they declined to answer. And now I know that the family and a lot of people have said that nothing like that happened It makes everyone really wonder. If SA didn't occur, why didn't law enforcement just say it didn't? Why decline to answer that? Why wouldn't they just say, no, it didn't happen? It's a little weird. So back to that knife. In Aiden Fucci's arrest warrant, 2 friends / witnesses told police that that knife was identical to one that Aiden carried around. It would also come out that several of Aiden's peers told police that Aiden had told them that he had planned on killing someone within the next 30 days and he would do this by luring them to the woods and stabbing them. And no one said anything after Aiden told his friends this. A lot of people have been down these kids' throats wondering why no one spoke up about this after their friend literally told them that they were going to murder someone by taking them to the woods and stabbing them to death in the next 30 days. I actually seen a comment that really made me think about it. This comment basically brought up the idea of what if these kids were actually also terrified of Aiden, that if they told on Aiden that they would be the person that would end up in the woods. So it might not just be as black and white as, you know, you should have said something. Someone tells you that they're going to kill someone. You obviously should say something. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that these were children. These were young teens. But if Aiden really did go and stab Tristyn, allegedly at this point 114 times, maybe they were that scared of him that they didn't want to be the person that ended up in those woods by telling on him. But now because of these claims, it's brought up the idea that maybe Tristyn wasn't the person that Aiden was specifically going out to kill. That maybe it could have been anyone. That maybe it was just one of those wrong place, wrong time, all of the scenario just lines up and it just works out perfectly for Aiden and he decided, okay, I'm gonna do it now. A lot of people have suggested that maybe Aiden took Tristyn to the woods and came on to her and possibly she turned him down, and that possibly could have made Aiden snap. Again, all of this is speculation and nothing has really come out about the motive yet, but it really makes you wonder. Even more interesting, after Aiden's first appearance, his private attorney asked to be taken off the case. I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to defend him either, considering what came out, but I also believe that, you know, everyone deserves a lawyer. That led everyone to wonder who is going to defend this 14-year-old boy who is pleading not guilty to stabbing a 13-year-old girl to death. And you heard me right, he's pleading not guilty. Jumping back a little bit, but on May 14th, his parents applied for what is called indigency status. I can't say the word for whatever reason, but it's a status basically claiming that they can't afford a lawyer for him. And they're basically asking the state to provide him with a lawyer. And they ended up eventually winning this. That means that now the taxpayers' dollars are paying for Aiden's lawyer. And it actually turns out that Aiden isn't just getting a lawyer, he's getting a team of attorneys from the public defender's office. A team. And the head of this team seemed to be extremely excited to be on this case, which was honestly gross. This really pissed people off. Your tax dollars, including the tax dollars of the Bailey family, are going towards a team of public defenders saying they're going to be spending hundreds of hours building a case to defend Aiden after it's all alleged, he allegedly did it, but I can't. And they're saying it's a privilege to defend him, like they're excited about it. And after all of that, Crystal posted her own bail after being arrested, but couldn't afford a lawyer to defend her own son. And just make it all make sense, please. Make it all make sense. So my big question for everyone is, where do you lie on this case? Do you think Aiden is a young psychopath that wanted to know how it would feel to kill, so he went and killed someone? That's one thing I'm really interested in coming out in the court case is, what was the motive? Was Aiden's life really that terrible that it led him to build up all of this anger that he needed to release by murdering someone? Or was he simply just like on the way to becoming a brutal serial killer if he hadn't been caught? What we do know is that a hell of a lot of kids probably have a hell of a lot worse life than Aiden Fucci did, and they don't end up going to do something like this. So it's not an excuse. But I really am curious, what led him to doing something like this? That is why I'm so interested in true crime. I'm very interested in the psychology behind why people do things like this. I think this is a case that really frightens a lot of people because it could be anyone. It's one of those cases that, like, it could be your next door neighbor. And it really makes people scared to, especially with their children, let them to even go on a play date next door, because what could happen? Do you really know who the neighbor's child is next door? Could they just seem like a normal kid, and then one day you send your kid over to play with them on a play date and your child gets murdered? It really shows that evil can live on the nicest street. Or you or someone that love could be a victim at any moment to someone so unsuspecting. Tristyn didn't sneak out that night thinking she was going to be brutally attacked and murdered. It probably was not the first time she stuck out. This is one of those videos that I don't know how to end. This is all the information that's out on this case right now. If you want to see a lot more in-depth deep dives on this case, I'll link some more channels below that have done some even deeper dives that I'm doing on this case. There's hours and hours of video that I've watched on this case. There's just so much that can be talked about. I would love to discuss this case further in the comment section below with you guys, so if you have any opinions on it, again, please leave them below. And of course, in the future, as more details are released and this case goes to court, I will definitely be making an update on it. But if I know anything, I know that Tristyn did not deserve this. Tristyn was a remarkable girl, and she would have grown up to be a remarkable woman like her sisters and her mother and her brother and her father if Aiden Fucci allegedly didn't take that away from her. And that requires justice. And the best thing we can do is to continue to say her name and to keep her family in our thoughts. Again, thank you all for being so patient with me, for having to take all this time off from posting, for having to find a place and moving and just trying to get settled. And also, I'm gonna try to figure out this whole audio, sound, lighting, all this stuff in this new place. Thank you, and continue to bear with me while I figure that out. But I do want to continue bringing you cases. So in the meantime, it's gonna be like this for a little bit. But I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you in my next video.